with a college hoops recruiting segment. And we did this about 3 weeks ago, and it was very popular, and we got some very good feedback on this. It killed on YouTube. And on the podcast, I got a lot of DMs and comments and emails about it. And so I want to just rip through about 5-6 storylines in the college hoops recruiting world, because again, ultimately, at the end of the day, we're still about 5 weeks away from the start of the season. Probably over the next 3 or 4 weeks, you'll really start to see all the conference preview stuff. But recruiting still is right now taking center stage. The best players are making visits. A lot of them are making visits in conjunction with big college football weekends. And so there's been all sorts of news over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Let's get to some updates since the last time. And we have to start with a mega update with the #1 recruit in America, class of 2024, a senior this year, a player by the name of Cooper Flagg, 6'9" forward, originally from Maine, plays at Montverde Academy. And when we last updated Cooper Flagg, we got an interesting update as he had settled on 3 official visits, 1 to UConn, 1 to Kansas, 1 to Duke. Took the official visit to UConn. It seemingly went well. I told you that there were ties between Cooper Flagg's family and Donovan Clingan's family. Remember, the mothers of those 2 players played together. Unfortunately, Mrs. Clingan passed away a few years ago, but I bring it up because there's ties between the families. If you saw on social media, the UConn staff actually got both moms' jerseys, and the 2 players took pictures together with the jerseys. So the recruiting visit seemingly went well. But here is the big piece of news. Here is the update that you need to know about Cooper Flagg. On Monday night, he canceled his official visit to Kansas, meaning it feels like, unless something shocking happens, he is down to Duke and UConn for his services. Now, when that piece of news happened, all the UConn people on social media, my DMs filled up. It was like a Christmas stocking. It was overflowing with so many DMs. But I bring it up because a lot of you asked point blank, Torres, does this mean that this is now down to, does it mean UConn is the team? I don't believe UConn is necessarily the team at this moment as I record here, whatever it is, October 3rd of 2023. What I believe is a few things. One, I think UConn did as good of a job as they could have possibly done on this visit. As I said, the picture with the Clingan, Donovan Clingan and Cooper Flagg wearing their mom's jerseys, it tugged at the heartstrings. Cooper Flagg's mom made, I believe it was a Facebook post kind of honoring the late Mrs. Clingan, what a great teammate she was, what a great leader she was, all of that. But I do still think at the end of the day, it's an uphill battle. Duke has been the perceived favorite forever. And remember, Cooper Flagg has already visited Duke on an unofficial visit. That was really the only campus visit that he took before this fall. And so he's already taken the unofficial. They've long time been perceived to be a leader, and he's got the official coming up later this month. And so it's going to be hard, in my opinion, to convince him to go anywhere other than Duke, although I do think UConn is the only other realistic option. And so that is the update there. And again, like I said, I've said it 2 or 3 times now, I think Duke is still the favorite. I think UConn is doing everything they can and everything anyone could do. But all I think that Kansas visit being canceled means is that he kind of knows in his heart of heart, Kansas isn't really an option. He doesn't strike me as the kind of kid that's going to waste everybody's time. He's the #1 player in America. He's coveted by everybody. He will be a one and done. He could be the #1 pick in the draft. I don't think he's the type of kid that's just going to go take a bunch of campus visits to eat free steak and hang out in the dorms. I think he knows what he's about. He knows what he wants. I think in the end, it'll be Duke, but we will obviously continue to monitor this one. Let's keep it going. And let's switch gears to, how about this? The #1 high school player in the class of 2025. In other words, a current high school junior. He took his first official visit the same weekend Cooper Flagg was at UConn. That is Cameron Boozer, 6'9" forward from the Miami area. He took an official visit to Kentucky with his brother, Caden Boozer. Now, if the name sounds familiar, if you're doing some mental math in your head, yes, I think anybody watching or listening to this knows. The sons, a pair of sons, they're twin brothers, Caden and Cameron Boozer. They are the sons of Carlos Boozer. Of course, Carlos Boozer, longtime NBA player. They are now in the Miami area. And 2 weekends ago, they took an official visit to Kentucky. Now, of course, when you see that these are kids that are legacies of a Duke alum, the natural assumption is that Duke is the favorite for this family too. So Cooper Flagg, the perceived favorite, is Duke. Cameron Boozer, the perceived favorite, is Duke as well. However, the fact that he visited Kentucky with his brother, and by the way, I'm really, frankly, being a little disrespectful of the brother here. Caden Boozer, the twin brother, he's not 6'9" like his twin brother. I want to say older brother, but his twin brother. Caden Boozer is a 6'3" guard, but I think he's a really good player. He's a top 20 player nationally in the class of 2025. And I bring it up because they are perceived to be a package deal. Cooper Flagg, ironically, has a twin brother as well. It looks like that twin brother is going to stay in the class of 2025. But the Boozer brothers are a package deal. And like I said, it feels like they've long been perceived to be a Duke lean. What I would say is a couple things. One, they just took a visit to Kentucky. They live in Miami, and I know that Miami very much thinks they're in the mix. The Boozer twins have gotten offers from North Carolina, which would obviously be an interesting twist. But I think what everybody wants to know is there anyone besides Duke that has a possibility? What I would say about this recruitment, I feel pretty confident saying this, a couple things. One, I think they're taking other options seriously. Now, does that mean they're going to end up somewhere other than Duke? That I cannot say. But I think they're seriously considering other schools. I think they want to see what else is out there, whether it is Kentucky, whether it is the hometown of Miami, whether it is North Carolina, whether it is somebody else that might not even be involved yet. I think they want to be recruited and want to go through the process. I don't think it's a grand slam home run, no doubt about it. They're going to Duke because their dad played there. I think the other thing worth mentioning, it's very early in the process. This was their first official visit. I don't think we're going to get any sort of clarification for a year plus. At this point next year, they'll probably be taking their final official visits, whether it's Duke, North Carolina, Miami, maybe a second trip to Kentucky. I don't know. But we're very early in the early stages with them. And number three, I think there are a couple other factors to consider. I've seen multiple people, including my buddy Jack Pilgrim, say, keep in mind, Dad, Carlos Boozer, is pretty hands-off in this recruitment. Carlos Boozer has ties to the Krzyzewski regime much more than to John Shire. So there's that factor. And then the other factor that I've been told for sure that I feel very confident in saying, are you recruiting Cameron Boozer, the number one player in the country? Or are you recruiting the brothers as a package deal? Because I think if you're going after Cameron and you're kind of giving the brother the stiff arm, yeah, we like you too, I don't think that really rubs the family the right way. If you've seen Caden Boozer play, he's a different player. He's 6'3". His brother's 6'9", 6'10". But Caden is a baller. If you watch that Peach Jam game when it was Cooper Flagg versus Cameron Boozer for the the Peach Jam championship, the U16 championship, it was Caden Boozer, the brother, the guard. He was the best player on the floor. Now, Cameron Boozer was sick. He had some sort of illness that week, but it doesn't change the fact Caden Boozer is a legitimate top 20 prospect. He's going to be a McDonald's All-American, and he is a high major point guard. Now, is he maybe a 2-and-done or a 3-and-done as opposed to his brother who's a 1-and-done, going to be a top 10 pick? Probably, but he is very much, he can play at Duke. He can play at Carolina. He can play at Kentucky. And so I think that's what the family really cares about. Are you recruiting us as a package deal? Are you giving both brothers equal time, equal respect, equal communication, whatever? Or are you really going after Cameron? Is Caden, the other brother, kind of off to the side? That to me is going to be worth monitoring. And what'll be worth monitoring is what are the other guards that the Kentuckys and the Dukes are recruiting in 2025? A long way to go there. All right, let's wrap with a couple other notes from the 2024 class. So this is the senior class we're going back to. First of all, 5-star guard named Boogie Fland. He is coming down to the wire. He is down to Kentucky, Alabama, and Indiana. It was worth noting this week he's from the New York area. Nate Oates and his staff, John Calipari and his staff were both up in New York. Keep in mind, by the way, Alabama's had some coaching turnover, but Preston Murphy, who came in to replace Brian Hodgson, who went to take the Arkansas State head coaching job, Preston Murphy's killing it. Preston Murphy's done an incredible job in that transition. And what I would say about Boogie Fland is this. You talk to people in college basketball. I do think that most people think that Kentucky is the perceived favorite. I think that this thing's coming down the home stretch and Kentucky feels good about where they're at. I also don't think that any of the three schools really feel like they're totally out of it either. I think Indiana thinks they got a shot. I think Bama thinks they have a shot. But being realistic, I do think Kentucky's the favorite. We'll see if they end up with Boogie Fland. No timetable just yet on when he's going to commit. By the way, to another guy worth noting with Kentucky, Billy Richmond from Camden, New Jersey. Played high school basketball with two current Kentucky freshmen, DJ Wagner and Aaron Bradshaw. I do think he'll be a Wildcat as well. Memphis also in the mix for him. So that's where Kentucky's at in 2024. Really quickly, I mentioned Bama. We mentioned this in the last recruiting update. They just got a commitment from a 5-star center named Aiden Sherrill. Plays at Prolific Prep, probably about 5-6 hours north from where I live here in California. Really good player. Nate Oates type. Everybody's got their types, right? Well, Nate Oates, especially big men, he loves that super long, super athletic type player, the guy that can defend in space, the guy that can protect the rim. He committed over the last week or so. Really good player. 5-star kid, top 30 or so prospect. I don't know if he's a one and done like Noah Clowney was this year, but he's going to be a guy that's a difference maker at Alabama from day one. He will step on the floor and he will contribute. Alabama on top of Boogie Fland, also in the mix for a top 20 wing / pseudo big guy named Deron Reed. He is a player that I think Alabama feels good in where they're at. He could play with Aiden Sherrill. He's more of a 3-4. Sherrill's more of a 4-5. But Alabama feels really good. Obviously, Alabama is in good shape to have another elite class. Remember, 2 years ago, they had the number 3-4 class in the country, something like that. This year, they recruited a couple developmental type kids, kind of hit the portal for Grant Nelson, for Aaron Estrada, for Latrell Wrightsell, but they're closing in on another top 5 class in America. Speaking of top 5 class, Arizona got a commitment from a kid named Emmanuel Stephen on Tuesday afternoon. Big 7-foot kid, plays his high school ball in the state of Arizona. Arizona's got 2 top 30 or so commits in Jamari Phillips and Carter Bryant. Both are 5 stars. I expect both to be McDonald's All-Americans. Tommy Lloyd doing work at Arizona. And a couple other news and notes. One, I do think there's I don't think. There is a 4-star from the beautiful state of Connecticut, near and dear to my heart, Tyler Betsy. He will commit later this week. He is down to Cincinnati, Alabama, and UConn. So you talk about 2 schools we've talked about, Alabama and UConn. Do think he ultimately does end up with Cincinnati. And there is one other kind of pseudo recruiting, commitment watch. And that is a kid by the name of Isaiah Elohim, who currently plays at Sierra Canyon High School. Obviously, famously, Bronny James played there. Amari Bailey, who played at UCLA, played there, on and on. He was seemingly down to about 3 or 4 schools, took a visit to Villanova. Villanova's not really in the mix. It feels like Arkansas is the team to beat there. Isaiah Elohim, again, from California, about a 6'5" guard, super athletic, super like these are the guys that Eric Musselman recruits, right? And we talked about Nate Oates having a type. Musselman, like, super athletic, switchable, can kind of play that 2 through 4 spot. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger for a high school kid. Really, really like his talent. I'd expect that one to happen sooner rather than later. All right.